Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue.
One name is Chitta Matra. Chitta means mind, Matra means only, mind only, literally, mind only school. Here we must know we are making a transition from Theravada to Mahayana. The crucial difference here is, there are many differences in doctrine and teaching, but the crucial difference here is that the Mahayanas say that not that the Theravadas are wrong or the Shravakas are wrong, they are right. The idea of no self in the five aggregates, Panchaskanda, there is no self there. That's right. But that's not the end of the story. If you do that, you will get peace of mind. If you meditate like that, you will get peace of mind. You will get a sense of release. But that's not the end of the story, because you have not encompassed the whole of reality. You have just inquired into yourself. But what about the world? What about the universe? What is it? It's still out there. Why would you need to know about the world or the universe? So they say, the Mahayanists, the Mahayana school, they say that the goal is not just personal liberation. So according to them, in Theravada, what is the greatest, the final attainment that you can have? That you can be personally liberated. As long as you're alive, if you are enlightened, you will be free of all the kleshas, the painful, negative emotions. You will live an enlightened, peaceful life. And after the dissolution of the body, nirvana. Nirvana in the purest sense of being exhausted or wiped out or snuffed out, blown out. A candle, deepa nirvana. That's the thing. There's a lamp there. If you blow out the lamp, and the Buddha was asked, after nirvana, where will the enlightened one go? Where will you go? Where will you be? The Buddha said, there's a lamp. If you blow it out, the flame, has it gone to the east? No. Or the west? Or north or south? Up or down? These are not right questions to ask. Similarly, this limited existence, which was continuing lifetime after lifetime.
Sorry, I'm going to rewind that, but I'm trying to think of it. How would I answer a question that logically? I mean, it just makes sense. Yeah, the light has been snuffed out. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's extinguished, which would be very much the logical explanation of what Buddha is trying to point out.
Similarly, this limited existence, which was continuing lifetime after lifetime, has been blown out. What remains after that, if anything at all, they don't talk about. So this is arhat. Arhat means the one who has attained liberation, personal liberation. But the Mahayanists say that that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is Buddhahood, the full enlightenment. The goal is not just your own enlightenment. The goal is the enlightenment of all beings. And so the Mahayanists, which literally means the greater vehicle. So the term is used in comparison with the Theravada, which they call pejoratively Hinayana, smaller, lesser vehicle. So that's not a term one should use. Why greater vehicle? Because here the goal is the liberation of all sentient beings. Liberation from what? From suffering. Liberation from suffering for all sentient beings. Your vow is not just to be an arhat. You will go through that stage. But your vow is of the bodhisattva vow. That I shall win liberation for all sentient beings. I shall take across the ocean of suffering all sentient beings. And at the end of the path lies full Buddhahood, not just like the Gautama Buddha. All of us can become that. In order to become that, where does emptiness come in? In order to become that, one needs a full view of reality, a comprehensive understanding of reality, not just the emptiness of this self.
How do you bring everyone else with you? We were saying that it's not just yourself, but you bring other people with you to be enlightened. How do you do that? By teaching, I would assume. I'm assuming that you can't just grab someone's hands. Let's go to an enlightened path. I don't think it's that way. I'm assuming you teach them and help them become enlightened. And I suppose that I know reincarnation is a very big thing in a lot of Hindu ways of life, and Buddhism in particular as well, I believe. But if you become enlightened, but you don't help anyone else, just say at the end of your life, all of a sudden you reach enlightenment, but you're bedridden, just for example. Well, how do you just dissolve? I mean, like the lamp example, your light goes out, and that's it. You don't get reincarnated anymore because you're enlightened. So how does it work with them? Do you end up coming back because not everyone's enlightened? So no matter how enlightened you are, everyone keeps resurrecting until everyone else is enlightened. That's my only assumption.
So what is this comprehensive understanding of reality? To put it very briefly, they say, look, you did not, the mind-only school says, you did not consider the external world. The external world, you left it as it is. But the external world is also empty. The Shravaka school, Theravada school said, this 5 skandhas, the 5 components of the personality, they are empty of self. But the external world, tables and chairs and quarks and quasars, they are also empty. There is no inner substance or essence to any of them. And then here again, the dream example applies very beautifully. In the dream example, when you are walking along in the park and you see a flower, the same example. The Theravadins told you that you don't exist as a person right there. It's an appearance in the dream. Even your personhood there is an appearance. But the flower is equally an appearance. The trees and the people you meet in the dream, they are also equally appearances. Of what? In what? In the dreaming mind.
What happened?
In the dreaming mind.
Hold on. Did something happen? Huh. Oh, good Lord, hold on.
In the dreaming mind. Yeah, that's an appearance too in the dreaming mind. Yeah, if you were well settled in emptiness, that shouldn't upset you, Swami. Yeah, both are appearances in the dreaming mind. The subject who experiences and the object which is experienced. You, the one who is seeing, and the flower which you are seeing, both are appearances. Where? In the dream. And that we all agree. After waking up, you will say that, oh, I was not walking in the park. That was not me. But it was experienced. And the flower was also not a real flower which I experienced in the waking state. It was also projected, or it appeared in the dreaming mind. Both are empty of self-reality. They don't exist as a person who is seeing a flower and a flower which is seen. Both are appearances in the dreaming mind.
That is, what? I mean, okay, hold on. Yeah, there is no self. I get that much a little bit. I'm sure I get a little bit of that. I understand that a little bit. But does not exist. Now that is a what?
And then the big move. Here it's very interesting to follow the moves these philosophers make. I'm going to take a high-speed tour of these, but these were developed over centuries, in fact more than 2 millennia of work, 1,000 years of work in India and 1,000 years of work in Tibet, with a lot of dialectics and debate, a lot of intense work, attacks and counterattacks. Still they were refined. So the next big move that the mind-only school makes is, as in the dream, so in the waking. As in swapna, as in the dream, so in the waking. And in order to show that this waking world is also like that, this body, mind, this personality is an appearance, and that world which we are seeing is also an appearance. Appearance where? In what? In the mind. Just as a dream appearance is. Now, in order to do that, they have to do some philosophical heavy lifting. They have to show our natural tendency to think that waking and dreaming are separate. They have to erase the difference. So they claim, as far as you are concerned, from your own experience, what is called phenomenological experience, as subjectively you are experiencing, as we all are, from that perspective, there is no significant difference between waking and dreaming. we immediately protest. We say, no, that's not true. Why do you think there's a difference between waking and dreaming? Multiple objections, many of them. These are like centuries of debates which go on between the mind-only school and other Buddhists and other Hindu schools at that time. For example, just for our consideration, a few things. One might say,
I would say, man, it would be so interesting to just go back in the past and just kind of witness that, the debate. You just sitting there listening to two people talking. I mean, that's the only form of it, probably one of the few forms of entertainment, but also education as well. Just instead of watching people talk it out, duke it out with words. But yeah, just to see making this logical statements, it's just so interesting.
Oh, dreams and waking are very different. Dreams are vague and smoky, and they are not clear. But the waking experience is it's so vivid. Color, shape, sound, all of this is so vivid and clear. So the dreams are not clear, not vivid. Waking is clear and vivid. Waking, you have an industrial grade reality. It's solid. It's here.
Industrial grade.
Now, the mind-only school philosophers or the masters will say that suppose the dreams were vivid. Suppose somebody comes and says, my dreams are very vivid. And on the other hand, because of old age, disability, maybe my senses are not working too well, I can't see all that well, or I can't hear all that well. So my waking experience is vague. It's all smoky, and I can't hear too well. But in my dreams, I hear very well and I can see very well. Now the dreams become more vivid, potentially, theoretically, not so difficult to imagine. Dreams become more vivid, and then the waking experience is less vivid. Will you now say that dreams have become waking and waking has become a dream? If you hold on to the criterion of vividness, then you have to be consistent. Now when the dreams have become more vivid, you have to say, that's my real waking state. We will never say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it takes a little bit, it's never just one criteria. There's a huge thing going on in America, and I'm sure it's happening in other places, but there's more than one criteria to say something is what it is. It's never ever just one single solitary thing. You cannot just say, if it writes, therefore it's a pencil. Like, well, no, you've got pens, markers, crayons, all those things write too. So to classify something as a pencil, you need to say one of the criteria is that it writes. 2, that it writes with lead. 3, it's surrounded by wood. And 4, you must sharpen it with a pencil sharpener. Because otherwise you'll have the mechanical pencil as a pencil as well, but that's a very specific mechanical pencil as opposed to a pencil. What else can you put to criteria to hyper specify a pencil? I mean, again, just for that example also reminds me of another argument that I'm thinking of whenever I hear it, and maybe when I discuss with some people, it's yeah.
So vividness, what the point is, the vividness, clarity of experience is not a criteria for distinguishing dream and waking. If it were, it will lead us to these absurd positions. Another one is similarly, continuity. And you can do the homework on this one. Somebody says that, look, my waking experience is continuous. I wake up in the same apartment, same bed every day. But every dream is different. Now, again, you can reverse that argument. You can say, suppose
you're drunk.
Somebody was sick, maybe Alzheimer's or something,
yeah,
and the waking experience seemed to be disconnected, disjointed, disorienting. Sickness can do that. Illness can do that. And suppose you keep having the same dream over and over again, a continuity in the dream. Then will the dream, we will say, is it waking, and now your waking has become a dream? We will never say that. So continuity cannot be a criterion for distinguishing between dream and waking. Another one is, look, dreams are private. It's in my mind. Waking is real. Look, we are all here and sharing a public reality, a shared reality. This one is also easily dismissed because in dreams also you have a shared public reality. When you don't know that you're dreaming, there are other people. You're walking, say, in the park. There are other people in the park, and you say, look, what a beautiful flower. And everybody else says, yeah, that's really beautiful. And it's a shared public reality. And when you wake up, you say, oh, that was all in my mind. But when you were there, it looked like a shared public reality. Everybody was having the same experience. Here also, everybody is having the same experience. Anyway, multiple examples like this. And if you have studied the Mandukya Karika, you will see the same ideas to such an extent that Gaudapada Acharya was accused of being a Buddhist, a Mahayana Buddhist. Because almost the same arguments are there. Swami Nikhilanandaji, in his introduction to the appendix to the Mandukya Karika translation, he gives 10 arguments to erase the difference between, actually 10 objections to equating dream and waking, and then he erases those, he deconstructs those objections. And you get a creepy feeling of maybe your dreams and waking are sort of melding into each other.
I will say though, is it only ever, is the argument to have only one example that matches all the criteria needed to separate the dream and awakened world? I mean, like I said a little bit earlier, there's, generally speaking, it's very, I don't know if there's anything that you can describe something with one example that says, okay, this is the, you say this and this describes this and nothing else. You say hot, well, that could be the sun, that could be a very beautiful person, that could be your fever. You know, hot means many things. In order to define what you mean by hot, you say, well, it's very sunny outside and it's 105 Fahrenheit, so it's hot.
So now, having accomplished this, the Chitta Matra, the mind-only school says, look, they have a famous saying, Nilo tadhiyo abhedaha. Blue and the perception of blue are non-different. You cannot distinguish between them. You, the perceiver, the internal perception of a color, and the color itself. We have this natural feeling, the color is out there. And my perception of the color is here, in my eyes, in my optic nerves, in my brain centers, I'm getting a perception. But literally, if you see your own experience, where is the difference? It all comes up as one in the experience. You cannot separate. And it says, just like the mind generates dreams, similarly, and the dreams are empty because they don't have a separate independent existence. It's the mind. Similarly, your waking experience is also generated by the mind and mind alone. You have no solid philosophical reason to postulate an externally existing world in addition to your experience. This is an argument. Something that was very, very similar to what was repeated by Bishop Berkeley about 700-800 years after these philosophers and the subjective idealists, you know.
Real quick, so is he saying right here that everything that you experience in life is generated in your mind, therefore how does does not exist though? But at least as far as this little bit, it says, is everything generated in your mind? Which is something that I believe in terms of how I understood Advaita Vedanta to a degree. My interpretation of Advaita Vedanta was that our consciousness is in our mind. This is just my interpretation. Not my interpretation. Sorry. My kind of disconnect belief from Advaita Vedanta, just because it is the only experience I have. So that our consciousness is somewhere in our brain. And everything gets passed through this consciousness. And so in order for you to experience something, it must pass through your consciousness. So your sense of touch passes through your consciousness, your smell, your eyesight, everything that you can sense in the world passes through your consciousness. That's how you experience it. If you lose your sense of touch, that no longer passes through your consciousness because the receptors in your, whether it would be your arm or your whole body, that's no longer being sent to your consciousness, therefore you cannot experience it. So this thing about how everything is perceived through your mind is kind of the same thing for me in terms of the consciousness. Everything must go through your consciousness for it to exist. So therefore that's the reason why I kind of got the idea that everything is consciousness. It must manifest in your consciousness for it to exist. So because if it doesn't manifest in your consciousness, it does not exist. If you're blind, you can never ever experience anything with sight, but you can with touch, smell, sound, etc. That's my I guess kind of interpretation of Advaita Vedanta, because that is something that I can experience for one-to-one. You know, I grab my arm, I can feel it, I can touch it, I will see it, and I experience it. How else to explain it? But I have no experience of this consciousness that's separate from my body. So that's the only reason why right now I'm not saying that this is in fact true, 100% true. No one could deny that. No, this is just the experience that I have thus far. That's so far that holds a little bit more truth to me. It's not this, again, it's not to say that it's 100% true, because I don't know for sure. I can't pull it. It's like, here we go. There's my consciousness. That'd be kind of weird.
So this is the mind-only school. What is emptiness? Emptiness of self, because it's like a dream self. Emptiness of the other, the perceived object, because it's like a dream object. Dreams are dreams. This is waking. No, but we have shown you that dreams are waking cannot be philosophically separated in principle. What is the benefit of this? The benefit of this is very great. When we sit and meditate, same thing. Sit calmly, take refuge in the Buddha, and the Sangha, and the Dhamma, arouse the Bodhicitta. So here the Bodhicitta has been defined very clearly. The Bodhicitta is Bodhicitta, the awakened mind or enlightenment mind, that's what they call it. It's a very important concept in Mahayana Buddhism especially. That it's a combination of compassion and wisdom. If you want to liberate yourself and all sentient beings, why would that feeling come? It comes out of compassion, karuna. Compassion for the suffering of all beings. Why the suffering of all beings? Once you see the selfless, the non-selfness of this person, then there is no difference between you and the other. So one of the great Mahayana teachers in Bodhicharya Avatara, Shanti Deva, he says suffering should be removed. The suffering of the other should be removed, because it is like your own suffering, in the sense that it is suffering. But you might argue, no, but it's my suffering, I'll remove my suffering. But that I, me, mine has already been dissolved and shown to be empty. Therefore, suffering should be removed. As you're removing hunger, thirst, pain here, you should remove hunger, thirst, pain there also. Compassion, that is the motivation. But compassion itself is not enough. In order to actually help others, we need wisdom. We need knowledge. So this combination of karuna and prajna, this compassion and knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the emptiness, the shunyata, emptiness nature of not only yourself, of everything else. Now, as you sit in meditation, you meditate upon the emptiness of the self and the emptiness of the other, the object. Emptiness of the subject, emptiness of the object. Both are appearing in mind. As a result, the world outside can no longer tempt you nor terrify you. There is no substance to it. It is none other than you yourself, the mind which is appearing as the seer and the seen, both together. One might ask, all right, then what is this mind? Here comes the idea of the three levels of reality according to them, according to the mind-only school. Reality as we experience it has three levels. There are three names for it. One is called parikalpita, imaginary. Second one, a higher level of reality, paratantra, dependent, causes and conditions. Paratantra, dependent on the other. And finally, parinishpanna, real, really existing, ultimate truth. So, parikalpita, imaginary, is our usual world of, I'm a person, you're other persons, here are nice things, I'm in competition with you to get those nice things, here are terrible things, I am terrified of it, I'm trying to avoid those things. Our samsara. It's just, this is like a dream. It's parikalpita, imaginary. But where is it imaginary? In the mind. Now the question might arise, but why are these things arising in the mind? This is the second level of reality, because of causes and conditions. There are reasons, because of past impressions of many lifetimes, which give rise to these experiences. The objects which we see, and we, the experiencer of those objects, they come up and disappear. This is called paratantra. This arising, that arises. This not arising, that will not arise. Causes and conditions. also known as pratitya samutpada, dependent origination. But even that is empty. What is really there is mind only. Now we may ask, what is the nature of this mind only? Chitta matra. Chitta means mind in Sanskrit, mind only. And they say mind only is instants of cognition, flashes of cognition. And it's not difficult to understand. Right now, if we see, we are having experiences. You see form and color and shape. We hear sounds. We feel warm or cold. We have sensations in the body, pleasant and unpleasant. These are all experiences, and according to them, these are only flashes of cognition, just mind. I, the experiencer of this table, the table itself, both are arising together in the mind as a flash of experience. Just hold on to that. Flash of experience. This flash of experience or flash of cognition, one instant, succeeded by another at terrific speed. But all discrete flashes of experiences arising and falling, these are called vijnana.
I'd say I heard that before, but it's really weird to say this is just mere... I can't remember where I heard it at, though. I can't remember where I heard that phrase that that these are just mere moments of flashes of experience. Maybe it's from Swami here. I don't quite remember, but that's really weird to say that the world, the life that we live in, is flashes of experience. Which, at the moment, with my very limited understanding of what that is, doesn't sound quite right.
Vijnana. Kshanika vijnana, momentary flashes of cognition. So what's the ultimate truth of all of this? Momentary flashes of cognition. This is what they understand by mind only. This is where it stops. And this meditation frees you from clinging to the self or clinging to the other also, because it's all empty. Now comes the third and the fourth. I'm going to deal with them together. Madhyamaka.
Okay, actually I'm going to pause it right there because it's actually pretty nice cutting off points. So, again, this emptiness about inside is very strange. The objects of the world are emptiness because they rise in the mind. I have to understand what they mean by the mind here, because this is, I do believe, different than Atman, Atma, Atman or Atma, or maybe the same thing. Anyways, or Brahman. There is no self here, and I guess I need to get an understanding. Why is there no self? What is the self that they're talking about? But obviously they're not talking about. But I guess it's because the self must be constant, and there's nothing in this world that's constant. So therefore, there is no self. I think, if I'm understanding that correct, that's the reason why there is no self. And maybe that's also the reason why these experiences that we have are just glimpses or flashes of flashes of experiences. I guess that's the best way to put it. Just flashes of experiences that happens in rapid successions, but nothing can. But they're nothing because there's no self. And this is really I mean, this is like 2 videos maybe. This is the second video, third video maybe, of something related to the emptiness, the void, the nothingness of Buddhism. So, whew, this feels like starting Advaita Vedanta all over again. Not the very difficult part of understanding what is this nothingness. Why is there no self? And what is required for it to be the self? Therefore, the reason why that requirement is never met, therefore the self is never there. And the fact that the saying that the world doesn't exist because they're all flashes in the mind, which if I'm understanding that correctly, perhaps I understand that just a little bit, as in everything must manifest in the mind as opposed to the consciousness. And the mind itself is what experiences things, and the mind itself is what experiences things because that is something that's physical that you can observe. It's object reality. because we can dissect, a person and see that they have a brain, and that's the mind. But there's no self in the mind, so therefore, yeah, it's I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not confusing anyone, but I'm just throwing everything out there that how I understand it and the questions I have. Anyways, that's the end of this part. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.